Alright, Shalom. I'm the brother Siyat, coming back with another video. But before I start off, I would like to give all praises and the highest honor to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to my elder apostles and teachers of Great Millstone, and peace and salutation to the sincere Akiam across the world who are spreading his knowledge in truth and sincerity. And may the election be upon your households. Khan Shalom. Yeah, so today I want to make a video concerning who the real chosen people, the real chosen ones are on this planet Earth. Because you might have heard that word chosen ones or the chosen come across a lot of times and be thinking like, whatever, man, just let me just continue on with my life. Meanwhile, the Most High who created everything, he has his favorite, how do you say that, creation, and his chosen ones also set up, and those chosen ones are the ones from how do you say that, the bloodline of the man who was named Israel. Okay, the Israelites, we are called. Okay, the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latinos, and the so-called Native Americans, those are the true Israelites that the Bible speaks of, the true chosen people, you see. So what I wanted to do today is just go into a few scriptures to show you this. And let's start with the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Because really, when you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, like Elder Abba Bivens did, basically, the Most High put the spirit upon this man named Elder Abba Bivens, and through reading Deuteronomy chapter 28, he understood, like, wait a minute, the so-called Negroes are the actual Israelites, the chosen ones. Okay, and later we also came to the knowledge that the so-called Latinos and the so-called Native Americans are also the chosen ones, because we all come from the man named Israel. Okay, he had 12 sons, which were from Israel. The man named Israel. You have 12 tribes, basically, and we're gonna read here in Deuteronomy 28. Let me read verse 1 and then jump to verse 15. Okay, because as the chosen people, we have a certain task to do. We have to listen to the Most High who created everything, and we have to represent him upon this planet Earth. So if we come in his name, we have to behave ourselves good, right? So this is Deuteronomy 28 verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy power. So if you will hearken diligently, if you will listen to the Most High, thy power, because the word God basically means power. In the Hebrew, the word God is Allah, which means power. To observe, and not like Allah from these Islam people, it's just in the Hebrew. To observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So if you would listen, you would be put above all the nations of the earth. When we jump to verse 15, so from verse 1 until verse 15, you're going to read all the blessings that we would get as a nation if you would listen to God. Now from verse 15 all the way until verse 68 are all the curses if you don't listen. Now it says here, but it shall come to pass, verse 15, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power. So if you don't listen, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So through this chapter, we understand, like, wait a minute, the curses that have been written in the Bible are now fitting a certain group of people the most, whereby we can now identify the real Israelites. Okay, for example, slavery, that would happen to the real Israelites. They would have bywords like they call us Negroes, African Americans, then is this, then is that, then it's Native Americans. They have all these crazy names. When we work, and when we work, we don't really have our own stores, things like that. When we walk amongst each other, we look with a certain evil eye towards each other. Like when you see a so-called black person walking, and you make eye contact, they always have like this mean mugging face towards you, you know, like a certain animosity always between us. That's also part of the curses, man. So let's read a curse here. It says, jumping to verse 30, 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, which is in the Dutch you say a gezegde, and a byword among all nations which the Lord shall lead thee. Bywords like, nigger, African American, Negro, whatnot, They have all these crazy names for us. Let me jump there to verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. So for everything, for food, clean drinking water. Let me say drinking water because they're polluting the water right now. For clothing, housing, what you name it, man. We have to go to our enemies, which mainly our main enemy is the so-called white man, which is known by the biblical identity as Esau, the nation of Esau, Edom. Okay. Therefore, it says here, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. If you look up the word yoke of iron, you're gonna see that happened in the transatlantic slave trade. Slavery, the slavery from the year 1619. Okay, they put a yoke of iron upon the neck of the slaves until he have destroyed thee. So jumping to verse 68, and this happened to the so-called Negroes. Verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Wait a minute, Egypt is next to Israel. Why would he bring us there with ships if we could just literally walk over there? Because Egypt here is not literally speaking of the land of Egypt. It's symbolically for bondage, for slavery. Okay? And this slavery with ships, that did not happen with the so-called people that live in the land of Israel today. Those are imposters. Those are the ones that stole our identity. They that live in Israel right now, they are actually the people from the tribe of Amalek, the chief tribe, so the highest tribe of the nation of Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, because these so-called Turkish people, these Polish people, these Russians, these Americans, these Europeans, sometimes they might look different. Sometimes they have blue eyes, blonde hair. Sometimes they have dark hair. They might look different, but those are just different tribes from the nation of Esau. So they're still Edomites. And Esau is the only nation upon the planet Earth which will not receive mercy from the Most High. Okay, so if you are Edomite, you're basically done, man. It says, verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee again, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. So the ships was what happened in slavery, the transatlantic slave trade. He was brought to the Americas, to the islands, Suriname, Caribbean islands, Jamaica, things like that, in ships, North America, South America, with slavery. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. Speaking of the land of Israel, okay? We would not see it anymore now, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondman and bondwoman. So we would be sold basically into Egypt as bondman and bondwoman. Basically, we would be sold into slavery. Bondman, bondwoman are slaves. And no man shall buy you. That doesn't mean that nobody literally would buy us, but it means nobody's gonna redeem us, buy us back, basically, Only the Most High can do that. From there, let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 2. It says, let me start this verse 1. And God spake all these, and the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So now you see Egypt is basically bondage, slavery, which I explained in verse 68 from Deuteronomy 28. So from there, let me go to the Apocrypha, which is this red book, to show you a little bit about the Native Americans and the Latinos, which are also Israelites, and what happened to them, We're gonna go to the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, all the way from verse 39. We're gonna start there. It says, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners. And the 10 tribes, you basically have the land of Israel, you have the northern tribes and the southern tribes. You have the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. And the northern kingdom, consisting of out of these tribes, are the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, and they also went into captivity, which is slavery. It's gonna say it here, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive. So the king of Assyria took us into slavery, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. So these waters are basically the river Euphrates, if I'm correct, the rivers between Israel and Assyria. But they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. So now these 10 tribes, basically known as the Native Americans, Latinos, was discussing amongst themselves like, hey, we gotta go from here, man. They're treating us, like animals over here. We gotta go. Let's make a plan. Let's go into a country where nobody ever lived, and that country is America. We're gonna read it. That they might there keep their statues, which they never kept in their own land. You see, that's one of the reasons why we was kicked out of the land, because we did not listen to the Most High, and we did not keep what He told us to keep. His ways, His laws. And so partly it's our fault also. It's a punishment for us to be going into slavery. That's one of the curses, right? If we didn't listen. But what did the heathens do? They furthered the affliction. They really took advantage of that situation. So the Most High is also going to destroy the heathens for that. Okay, He's a righteous God. For verse 43, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. Oh, you see, so through the Euphrates River they came into the ocean, which is the Persian Gulf, if I'm correct. And from the Persian Gulf, when you have the land of Africa, you're gonna go around the east side of Africa, around the south side of Africa with a ship, and then you can go to America. That's how they was sailing, was going by ship, basically. It says here, for the Most High then shewed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. So the Most High basically kept the ocean a bit calm for these Native Americans, Latinos, the 10 tribes of the land of Israel, to safely pass toward the land of America. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. That's how long it took to go from the Euphrates River in the Persian Gulf around Africa to America. It's a long voyage. It's a long time, man. And the same region is called Arsaret. So the region is called Arsaret basically is America. Okay. Then so that is basically to show you with a few things that also these Native Americans, Latinos, also went into captivity and went over America. Because who else went over America that is speaking about here, that was also in captivity. When you look up the Native Americans, they have clothing with fringes, which in the scriptures it says we should wear fringes on our clothing, on our garments, and with a blue border on the bottom, basically a blue border and fringes to remind ourselves of the laws of the Most High, if I'm correct. I forgot where it says it, but it's in the book of Numbers. Now, one thing that you should note, not just because you are so-called Negro, so-called Latino, so-called Native American means that you are a chosen one. Because you also have people that might look like us but are not from our bloodline. Okay, the bloodline of the nation of Israel is determined by the father. If the father is one of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and he makes a child, a boy, with a so-called white woman, and he makes a child with a so-called Chinese woman, that boy might come out and look like a so-called Chinese, look like a so-called white person, but he still is the sperm of this Israelite man. So that still makes him an Israelite, okay? Other way around, if a so-called white man makes a child with a so-called black woman, and that child comes out so-called black, dark skin, you're gonna think, oh, that's an Israelite. No, that's not the case. He's literally the sperm of that white man. So most likely he's of the nation of Esau. Okay. Also, the nation of Esau, the nation of Israel are not determined by your skin color, determined by your blood, your bloodline. Okay. It's not only black Hebrew Israelites or what else they're trying to say that it is. So let me grab the last scripture to prove that. It says here in the book of Numbers, chapter 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. Here, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years old and upward by their polls. You see, by the house of their fathers. So your father determines which race you are. That's why we know that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, those mainly, the majority of those are the true Israelites. But you also have us Israelites that are across the whole planet Earth, basically scattered through slavery. What happens in slavery? You get brought by ship from the land of Israel to America, to that land, to this land. So of course we're gonna be spread across the whole world. Okay, we can actually read it in James 1 verse 1. James chapter 1 verse 1, I mean. It says here, James, a servant of the Most High and the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, to the 12 tribes of who of the land of the nation of Israel, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. So in the Greek, when you go into that word, it says diaspora. Okay, it means basically a scattering of the Israelites. Okay, when you, for example, have a glass and you drop the glass, all different particles of glass splatter across the floor. That's how we are basically scattered throughout the different nations. Okay, just like me, for example, I live in Holland. I have a Dutch passport, but I'm actually from Suriname. You know, that's also I have Israelites in different countries. So the last one to show you also Isaiah 11 verse 11. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people." Remnant is a residue, something that is left behind. So he's gonna gather his people, and from where is he gonna gather his people? Which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Patros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamad, and from the islands of the sea. So all these different places, showing you we were scattered throughout all these different places. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. You see, so the four corners of the earth, showing you again, we were spread across all the countries of the earth. But the Most High will gather us together, and basically that hatred that we have between ourselves is going to be done away with. You know, it says it here, the envy also of Ephraim, which is one of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, and they are today known as the so-called Puerto Ricans. So the envy of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So they're not going to hate each other anymore. But that's enough on this. There's a lot more scriptures, but I hope it was edifying. And with that, I want to give all praises and highest honor to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kodash. I want to give double honor to my elder apostles and teachers of Great Millstone, and peace and salutation to the sincere Akim across the world who has spread this knowledge and truth and sincerity. And may the election be upon your households. God shalom.